Welcome to Swift Coaches Academy, a podcast dedicated to bringing health and wellness professionals the uncensored truth behind what it really takes to succeed in the health industry with me, your host, Zenia Wood. As an accredited exercise physiologist and business owner for almost a decade, I'm on a mission to transform the lives of ambitious health professionals like you who want more and are ready to take action to create incredible impact in your careers and unlock financial freedom in your business. So join me as I speak candidly with industry leaders about the struggles and successes from within the trenches through thought-provoking conversations.
In this episode, we have Zenia's conversation with fellow exercise physiologist and business owner Mitch Vautin. As the Director of Exercise Healthcare Australia, boasting 2 state-of-the-art facilities in his first 5 years of business, Mitch has big visions for exercise physiology and even bigger standards for how we, as exercise professionals, can and should be doing things better for our clients and as business owners.
So just before we started, you said you had your magical bean juice and you're ready to go.
100%. Let's do it.
So Mitch Vautin, the owner of EHA, Exercise Healthcare Australia, how did that come into existence?
How did EHA come into existence?
Yeah.
What, you want, like right from the start, or how much do you want?
Yeah, I reckon give us like a modified summary of your journey and then when EHA sort of was born.
Yeah. So I graduated uni from QT 2015, worked at the Institute of Urban Indigenous Health after that for 2 years. So it was my first full-time role as an exercise physiologist. That was really good. I enjoyed that. At the time, I had a few other friends who were working in private practice. And I had obviously done placement at a private practice. My sort of take on the whole thing was that I got to see exercise physiology and how much impact it could have within the Indigenous health space. So everyone could come in, do group classes. There's no sort of fees for the session, but they got really great outcomes. These are people, elderly, chronic disease, disability. And I thought, oh, this is awesome. This is cool. It's crazy how big an impact exercise can have. And then the stories I was hearing from people like doing 20-minute initial assessments, just doing the bare minimum, seeing people once every couple of months in private practice. I was like, oh, this, I don't think is, I don't know, that's not what I want to associate myself with. And I thought I could do a better job. At the time, I had my best mate, Ben. He was working at IUE with me. We sort of got talking. We were like, hey, let's have a crack. I was very fortunate. My mum was working at a specialist center in Northlake, and his now wife, mum, was working at a medical center in Algester. We used those contacts, got into some gyms, started seeing patients, eventually stopped working at IUE, grew what is now EHA. So we saw the first patient in 2017, was sort of slow and steady. From there, in 2018, both quit our job. And I was now 2023. And EHA is much bigger than just me and Ben.
Yeah. Talk to me about that. How many staff do you have? Are they all EPs?
Yep. So we have 17 exercise physiologists now. We have 7 exercise physiologists working at Palmerston or south of Brisbane. 2 of those guys come to Orderly 1 day a week. We have 4 exercise physiologists here at Orderly, plus myself. I do 2 days a week here. And then there's another 4 exercise physiologists, 5 exercise physiologists out at Northlake. And I do 1 day a week there as well. And then we also have a administration staff member at each site. And we have my mum, our business development manager. And then, me at the head. Used to be Benny as well, but Benny moved on and doing other things now.
Cool. Awesome. And so how did you go from, okay, like I'm going to go out on my own, while you and Benny are going to go out and sort of do some private practice stuff, to 17 EPs?
Because there are a few big steps. Our first staff member was sort of like a fourth hand. So we quit our jobs in the start of 2018, not really knowing if it was going to work. And at the halfway through 2017, when I was still at IUE with a nice, comfortable, full-time job, I decided that I wanted to go to Europe, in 2018. So I booked this 4-week trip to Europe, without thinking that I'm going to, not have a job and lose all my income. And then
just on that, that's crazy because I'm pretty sure I went to Europe in 2018.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So, well, it's delighted, but not quite.
Yeah, look, maybe they did. But yeah, so we got to like a couple months before I was going to Europe, and we were pretty busy. So like I had a full clinic, Benny had a full clinic. We we're probably seeing 40, 50 patients a week. We were like, look, if I'm going to go away for 4 weeks, going to need to get someone on board. And we got exercise physiologist named Alice who did placement with me at IUE, and she was awesome. So she just jumped in and she took over Ben's caseload. Ben came to North Lakes, took over my caseload. I went to Europe for 4 weeks, and then 4 weeks in, I was 1 week before my birthday, and I had a chat to the guys I was with. They were going away for 8 weeks, and they convinced me to stay another 2 weeks so I could be in Europe for birthday. Rang Ben up, said, hey mate, I'm actually going to need to have another 2 weeks off. Can you hold the fort down? I also need whatever money's left in the bank so I can make it to the end of this trip. And he said, happy birthday, mate. Go for it. And then, we got through that. And then from there, when I got straight back, we were like, all right, we need to hustle now. We need to get 3 people busy. And so we got good at networking and marketing, which is like then it was literally just GP meeting, knocking on GP doors, meeting with nurses. We knew like all the nurses' names, coffee orders. We wrote the best GP report, and obviously did it well. I'd like to think we did a pretty good job. And then just sort of launched, and then from there we just pretty much hired 1 or 2 every 6 months until now. We just got 3 on board 2 months ago. And that's sort of how it exploded, I guess.
That's awesome. So from I want to go to Europe to let's hustle and let every GP and nurse in the the Brisbane-ish area know who we are, and it just really through referrals and it works. Sounds like it.
Yeah, well, like it was a case of because one other thing I didn't like about the industry, I don't know if you feel the same, was like I feel like in 2017-18, all exercise physiologists were hired as contractors. Like in this 50-50 thing, and you weren't part of a team. And I got offered a job somewhere. I was like, oh, you get 50%, but you have to pay your rent, and you just get to wear our shirt pretty much. And I was like, what's the fucking point?
That was me. That's exactly what I did from 2015 through till 2019.
Yeah. Right. And how was that?
Yeah, look, I think it started out really good, and I really loved the environment where I was getting all this professional development and business development. And then the key people who were supporting that left, and it did become a little bit more of a like your client, my clients kind of vibe. And I just felt that there was a lot of divide in that. And to the point where at the end, I was like, fuck it, I'm here for my clients, head down, bum up. And then I'm not going to be here at all when I don't need to be. I just felt like, I have employees now, obviously you do as well. I felt like you mentioned, that team environment was really lacking, and it was less collaborative and more competitive. And I love competition, but it wasn't competitive in an uplifting, empowering way. It just felt a little bit you versus me, or who's the best practitioner, or I'm only gonna, the physio's only gonna refer to X person in the facility, and everyone else sort of can fend for themselves. So I guess that was kind of why I liked the idea of employee route as well, and creating like a community or something where everything is genuinely collaborative. We're all here for the same purpose. That was my experience.
Yeah, well, that's it. And so that's why we wanted to employ people. But then obviously as a business owner, especially starting off, employing someone comes with a risk because if they don't make any money or don't see clients, then you're still going to pay their wages, their super, their tax, and everything else. So when I got back, and I had that caseload, which Ben was now taking in, Alan had, Ben's caseload, it was like, we've got a whole nother caseload because I need to start making money again. So what do we do? So it's almost like we were like, and we were very motivated. We're like, all right, well, let's do whatever we can to now get me busy again and get 3 full-time caseloads. And we sort of, worked out how to do that. And then every time we sort of had an opportunity to get someone on board, either, referred through or found a good EP or had a good student, we were like, all right, we know what to do. Let's get them on board. And then now let's go back and hit all these GP centers again. And get them busy.
Awesome. And so we've both been EPs. I graduated 2014, so very similar in terms of, I guess, our time in the industry. But you sort of have lent pretty heavy in the NDIS chronic disease space, whereas I'm obviously quite heavily in private practice, musculoskeletal. I couldn't think of anything worse than knocking on the doors of GPs. And so I prefer to go in more of the sort of, I guess, active athletic population. But I'd love to hear how you went about actually getting GPs on board, because for me, it feels like such an uphill battle when GPs already don't have enough time for their 15-minute consults or whatever they're allocated. How did you actually create working relationships with these GPs to get them not only on board, but referring to you and create those relationships? That's something I'm actually quite interested to learn from you.
Yeah. Okay. I think there's a number of different factors that come into, getting referrals from GPs. The first one I have to attribute to my, practice supervisor at UT. So I was always like talking about, I think I always wanted to be a business owner in some fashion. I just, and just happened to fall into exercise physiology when I had a passion for it. So I was talking to him. He had a friend who set up a successful exercise physiology private practice at the time. And one of the things I distinctly remember is he said the most important thing for GPs was your, report. So he said the biggest thing that he'd make was every single one of his Medicare reports, at a table, and the table summarized all the results of the assessment, plus it had all the other paragraphs, but a clear table that articulated the assessment, the objective measures you got, and the impact of those objective measures in the comparison to norm. Then you can write your treatment plan. That was the first thing I did. And we do still get feedback from GPs and the nurses saying, hey, you got great reports. And I've seen some of the reports that other exercise physiology companies do. Like there's people who just have a stock standard template, sign it with a pen, and then fax it off. And you can do that. But they're not gonna make an impact, doing that. So I was all about, and our reports take longer and it's more effort and you don't get billed for that time. You can't charge for that time. But we now feed, 150 new people every month. And if I'm sending a really good letter 150 times every month to maybe 50 to 100 different GPs, and I'm just in their page all the time with this really nice thing, they go, oh, he's probably doing a good job. I'll send him another one. So that was our constant reminder that we're still here and we're doing a good job. And we take a little bit more effort than the other people. That was the first thing. The second thing was, discovering that sometimes some GP practices, the GPs didn't matter at all. So we were, a lot of our referral base initially was Medicare referrals. To get a Medicare referral, you have to get a GPMP or a general practitioner management plan or a TCA, team care arrangement. And we sort of worked out probably in the first year that the people actually doing those plans, or the team care arrangements were the GPs. the GPs were signing off for them, but the ones doing those were nurses. So whenever we went to GP meetings or visited a GP practice, we'd say, hey, who actually does the care plan for this practice? And they'd say, the GP sign up for them, but Carol or John or whoever, the nurse is actually the one who writes them and take the patient through the journey. So we thought, look, can I just have 5 minutes with the nurse? So we were, rather than going to the dealer, we were going straight to the door and getting things done. And that had a lot of success. So yeah, we had really close relationships with a few of the nurses. Some of the nurses still come in and like have sessions at our faculty, and they're some of our biggest referrers. So that's a big one. And then obviously the GP meeting. So you can have did you ever have a GP lunch meeting, Zenia?
No, I literally avoid. I actually have not. I've gone, you know what, Medicare, not for me. I prefer to go down the private practice. Yeah, so I just have no actual experience. I'm sure that if I tried it, it could work, but I just went, looks like something I don't want to deal with.
Yeah, 100%. And so yeah, so the next layer is that you can have the website, or you can call up and you can book to have a lunch with a bunch of doctors. Mm-hmm. And they come in and they're used to having lunches with medical companies to sell them different medications to use for their patient. And, they buy them lunch and just have a chat. So we used to go to them all the time. We just try and, call up and, just be good people and like try and move the receptionist a bit and say, hey, what do the GPs really want for lunch? Like, have they had nandos all week this week? What's something different that we can get? We'd make sure we get the nicest meal around we can get and carry it all them. And then we made these, we do have these nice little GP packs that have a bunch of information. And then when we go in, rather than trying to sell our product, we just have a chat, and try and have a bit more of a meaningful conversation and ask them what their concerns were, what their problems were, what sort of things their patients were doing, if they had an understanding about exercise and physiology, but none of them did. And some of those meetings are great. Some of them are awful. Started going and there's a very, very unhealthy GP who the thought of exercise would just repulse them. And I'm here trying to tell them that they should refer their patients to exercise. And, you just sit there and be like, why? How are you meant to help anyone? How am I meant to help your patients if you can't help yourself? Other times they just wouldn't rock up. So you'd be there for 2 hours waiting, and then they'd come in, grab the food and then leave and go, thanks for Zenia. So it was a bit of a slog, but so we did a lot of and still do, because you get the big patient.
Yeah. So something you mentioned before that I'd love to jump back to, you mentioned that the nurses who do these TCA plans have sessions at EHA. And that's something that I used to do, which I think is really, really smart to get those people, and not just smart from like business savvy, but also just helps build better relationships and helps them have a better understanding of what you do. So are you saying that you would get those nurses in and you'd be like, come to EP sessions? Were they on the house? Were they 50%? Have they charged full price to them? Like, how did that work?
Just the initial assessment's free.
Okay. Cool.
And that's sort of the thing with that. Look, what we totally appreciate that no one really understands what an exercise physiologist is. We're a completely new health profession, especially when you compare us to the giants of physiotherapy and podiatry. And whilst I can do my best to sit here and articulate what I can do and how I can help your patient, the best way for me to do that would be for me to show you, because it's going to be good for you because you'll get to actually see what we do. And then when someone comes in and says, oh, I've got a sore knee, I've got diabetes, or I've got this thing going on, you can say, oh, maybe we should see an exercise physiologist. And 99.99% of those people are going to say, what is that? Is that a physio? And then you can say, no, it's actually this person that does this and can help you like this. And then, not all the time. They'd be like, again, as soon as some people hear the exercise word, they shriek and leave the room. But every once in a while, they'd be like, oh, okay, I'll come in. And then I go, oh, shit. And then book them in, and then they end up staying on board, which is being super cool. And then they refer a lot of people because they see the benefit. And again, they can, when they see someone come in, they can articulate what we do, because that's half our battle as exercise physiologists, people knowing where we sit within the health space. And yeah, it works really well.
That's awesome. It just reminds me of when I was at What's Now a Good Life, and I would get every single personal trainer. I was the youngest, but like on paper, most qualified PT in this facility. There's 22 PTs and then me. And I was like, I know all the things that you do when you walk out of uni, and then you go, fuck, all these PTs are fully booked and I have 3 clients. So that was a bit of a good slap in the face learning lesson. But I think what I realized was my benefit was like, hey, I'm not here to compete against a PT. Just like you're not, talking to the nurse to compete against a physio, right? Like it's another service that may be of benefit at different times for the person. And so what I ended up doing is every single reception staff, every sales rep, and every PT in the gym, I was like,
come to an initial consult, complimentary.
And I had every single human who would potentially be interacting with a member of the facility who wasn't me know what I do by having sat in a room with me and gone through an assessment. And then I offered them 50% off if they wanted to work with me, because I guess different scenario, but in a big gym, like if you're the trainer who's training the trainers, people are, oh, who's that?
Bad.
So that was the way that I did it, which sounds similar to the way, you getting nurses on board so that they can then articulate it, right? Because if they're the keeper to these care plans that then get people in front of you, then that's like half the battle, right?
100%. And yeah, the number of nurses who are coming in as a percentage of nurses who refer to us is so little. But yeah, I think that any opportunity you have to educate, we need to, as experts. And I think, doing your free sessions with the personal trainer, get that same thing. And obviously, again, then building that authoritarian relationship where you're the trainer the trainer. Like that's the next level, even above that. Yeah. You try and get, all the GPs in for sessions, which
literally, that's what I was thinking. Like, get the GPs in and, create like almost like a networking meeting where it's like, GPs get to network with other GPs who are maybe specialists in other areas or who know different things so that they can, I don't know, support. Maybe it's like specialists and GPs get to train with you at a certain time. I don't know.
It's something that, 100%.
If you had taken a run with that, hopefully someone else does.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I wanted to interrupt this episode to let you know about some incredible masterclasses we have coming up based on anatomy. If you are loving what you're hearing so far, you are going to be blown away by what is inside these masterclasses. We have 2 coming up. The first is on the 15th of June, which is the anatomy of the shoulder. And then the second is the 5th of July, the anatomy of the hip. And these are honestly game changers. We have so much content in here. This is free for anyone who wants to attend. You do have to register, and that is it. I will be personally hosting these, and I cannot wait to see you there.
So going from you sort of knowing you want to run a business and then just making it happen, putting in the hard slog, still putting in the hard slog, I'm sure. Because I know that it was a big risk to be like, okay, I'm going to get this premium facility, right? Like I've walked through your doors, like it's phenomenal. If anyone gets a chance to go to EHA, do it. Whether it's for crack or just a walk around, especially if you are an exercise physiologist. But like, I think something that I'd love to touch on is the fact that your facility is purpose-built, right? And you have so much space between equipment specifically with, disabled bodies in mind, or people who are in wheelchairs, or to help create a comforting environment so people don't feel on top of each other. It doesn't feel like your Globo gym. What gave you the confidence, or did you just kind of go, fuck it, in terms of going, I'm going to go from this small space to like, getting out alone and being like, let's really attack this?
I'll preface and say that, look, I'm a positive and a negative of mine is unfortunately one thing I've never lacked is confidence. So that helped. But we basically got into a situation in the end of 2019 where we had a team of I think maybe 6 or 7 exercise physiologists. We didn't have an admin team, so we basically outsourced an admin team that serviced a bunch of specialists, and we were paying them a rate to do all our phone calls and do all our billing. And because we were growing very quick, and we effectively had like one full-time admin person through this team, the amount of billing and follow-up that was needed to happen far superseded the capacity of the admin person that we were contracting. And they weren't part of the team, they weren't forward in, and they weren't like, oh, I better sort this stuff out. They were just like, oh, I'll just do it when I can.
Yeah.
And myself and Ben were doing, we were full EPs at this time. We were at big client week. That was just our focus, get BDT more people, get BDT more people. And then one day I logged on and I checked how far behind the billing was. And the billing was about 2 months behind, which at the time was, more than $50,000. And I went, oh shit, we need to get our own admin staff, and they need to catch up. But we didn't have anywhere to put admin staff because we were working out of commercial gym, where we just had little consult room in, a gym in Harvey Bay at the time, a gym in North Lakes, and a gym in Algester. And there's no way you could set up an admin with a phone call and admin person with a a phone and a computer. So luckily, thankfully, Mum is now a business development manager. She was working with a special thing at the time. And I was like, hey, look, can you just go through everything here and tell us how we can set up what we need to change to get things back online? And she went through everything, and she ran special things for the last 20 years. And she said, look, I would do this, and this. She had a commercial real estate license. She's like, look, you've got enough capital here because we caught back up with the billing. You should consider getting your own space and go for it. And then she's like, you just need to decide what that space looks like. And just sort of myself and Ben, we had one thing really fortunate, we really saw the opportunity for ourselves and for exercise physiology. So it's like when we built this place, it wasn't like, this is what we need now, because it's way too big for what we need now. But it's what we're going to need in 5-10 years time, because we're going to keep growing at this rate. Exercise physiology is only going to become more prevalent. And this is what we believe people with chronic disease, disabilities, and high need. They don't need to be having home visits, fucking around with stretchy bands and using 1 and 2 kilo dumbbells or jumping on a Bosu ball. They need to use the same pin-loaded resistance training machine, leg presses, everything else that everyone else needs. I didn't know why that wasn't happening. So we were like, how do we get that? But how do we also not make it feel like a gym? Like, so the gyms you're working at, they play music like you're at the Met on a Saturday night, the lights are hefty. And
that's the gym when I started it.
Yeah. Oh, one of the ones we worked out was that. And some people would come in, little old people or people in wheelchairs and stuff, like, oh, like, this is scary and intimidating. There's times where literally you couldn't hear people when you were doing your initial consult, even in this little room, because it was like, doof. So we knew what we needed. And we were just like, let's just have a crack. Yeah. So the confidence was the exercise physiology. And then we didn't want to compromise on the service, because the commercial gyms we've been working at the exercise we were able to deliver was amazing. And I didn't want to not use commercial gym equipment. And we needed to create a space that had a function of a gym, but we wanted it to feel like a medical facility.
I love that.
And
function of a gym, but feel like a medical facility. That's awesome.
Yeah, because, and this is the same reason why, despite getting comment and, look, ever since we practiced, I've worn a belt, tucked my shoes in, wore boots, because I feel I want people to not feel like a personal trainer or just another person in the fitness industry. I'm a medically trained, university qualified allied health professional. And for me, that was something that's like, I'm going to do everything I can to stand out, everything I can to make you feel like you're in a similar place.
It's so interesting because I have like the total inverse views on that. Like, I feel like if you have to tuck it, like, and I know you don't have to, Mitch, but like, I feel like if you have to tuck your shirt in and wear long pants and boots to stand out as an exercise physiologist and your skill set doesn't do that, then you're hiding behind. If you have that and a great skill set, different story. But
exactly.
I was always of the opinion of like, why the fuck is someone wearing ballet flats to teach a barbell squat? Like, firstly, it's probably not safe footwear. But secondly, like, we're here to exercise. And so I guess that's probably the differentiator between you working with your clientele and me without. Like, I think if I was in a commercial gym or if I was in a gym-based setting, people would look at me and go, you're a dickhead for wearing long pants in the gym, because I think the private practice space not dictates that I think it's more well received if it's like I'm in gear that's actually suited to that environment. If you want to be a medical center, then that makes sense to you.
I mean, I've worked in gyms like this for 4 years. I mean, my argument would be like, what if those two people, they're both equally as skilled? One wears gym clothes, they're both exercise physiologists, and one tucks the shirt in. I'm big on, I'm sure you know, the sum of marginal gain. Every 1% matters. So if there's the tiniest little tiny weeny thing that makes one person feel 1% more comfortable, then I'm going to do it.
I just wonder though, because I think some people would feel more comfortable with someone who was wearing exercise clothes, and some people would feel more comfortable if you're wearing, let's say, like medical professional clothes. Like, I think it's uncomfortable to have someone looking out of place, like in a gym setting, wearing medical clothes, than it would be like if I rocked up if it was too professional almost. I feel like they would potentially create a shift or a different. I mean, we can debate on this for days, but I think
no, I can see it. Like if you went to a costume party in a suit, you'd probably look like a tool.
Yeah, like I think it's based on the environment that you're in and what you're trying to do. And if you're trying to be seen as, the exercise medical professional, whereas I'm trying to almost create an ideology of like exercise science with rehab, as opposed to we're going to stand behind a clipboard and be medical professionals while you work out and get sweaty.
Yeah.
Interesting though, because I've seen other people do it and I've always been like, fuck, like I literally chose my path placement based on where I could wear tights to work. So it's like, I'm not wearing ballet flats and long pants if I'm an exercise professional.
Each to their own. I've got some Beautiful Under Armour golf pants, and they're so comfortable.
Under Armour are the go for work. So if you're going to do exercise in any sort of work pants, like they've got to be, either or Lululemon. For the guys' pants, I've heard, have so much stretch in them, you can ask a grass squat.
Oh, wow. Well, because I've probably ripped about, I don't know, 10 to 20 different pairs of pants over the last 5 years. And I finally, Under Armour Golf has thought of me, but look, maybe in my next round, I'll get some Lululemon.
Well, we also get, it's called R&D. I don't know what it stands for, but we get health professional discount at Lululemon. So anyone who didn't know that, yeah. It's like 20 or 25% for health professionals. You just have to like prove, design membership or whatever. And then you're on the system. I
just got my 35% off my new athlete from that. Yeah.
I didn't know ASICs did it. 35%, pretty good.
They don't got myself some KRNA.
Yeah, no.
So it was like a massive saving. But again, if you don't know that, get yourself some ASICs, guys.
Lorna Jane does 20%. Seriously, be a health professional.
plug.
You don't need capacity.
Yeah.
Honestly, you should just get like a PT certificate and then focus the discounts. It's probably worth your membership.
Oh, only ESTA members get the ASIC.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I used to work at
Anyway,
Rebel Sports
we've
and I get like
digressed.
50% off. Yeah. Anyway.
Oh,
Outside of getting your gym pants at a discounted rate, why don't we round off with your future plans for both EHA and a little birdie tells me maybe some education.
Future plans for EHA. Goal for EHA is help more people more, in short. So yeah, I believe that the attitude towards treating people with chronic disease and disabilities is not great. I don't like speaking for everyone, and I don't want to do that, but I feel like you can help someone, you can get someone stronger, more flexible, fitter, by giving them anything if they haven't exercised ever before. But same as like what I was talking about before with some of marginal gains, if you do a better job, put in more effort, give them the best possible solution, you're going to make a bigger impact. So put in a bit more effort, make a bigger impact. And so I want to be a part of moving exercise physiology forward by trying to make the biggest possible impact I possibly can. And I've got the best fucking team of exercise physiologists around me to deliver an amazing service. So continue to do our thing, keep trying to change and do better in the hope that everyone follows and everyone else just does the best possible thing they can and not does the bare minimum because it's not good enough. And then, I was sort of inspired to, I think there's a massive pie that of people that we can help as exercise physiologists. And I don't think there's really any need for competition. If we think about how many people out there who are elderly, have chronic disease or have some sort of pain or anything that aren't exercising, there would be just thousands and thousands and thousands just in Brisbane.
And it's just growing and growing. It's not getting
100%.
smaller, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, and there's plenty for all of us. So if everyone does a better job, then when people walk into the GP, they're not going to say, oh, I'm a back sore, I need a physio referral. They're going to say, oh, I'm a back sore, who's the best exercise physiologist around here? Or give me a referral to an exercise physiologist. And then we're all going to get busier. We're all going to be happier. So we all need to do a better job. I've learned a lot. I've learned really quickly because I've worked a lot. We do a couple more than 38 hours as business owners.
A couple more. That's another statement.
A couple more. So I want to try and share what I've learned about working with people with chronic disease and disabilities, how I've applied concept I've used, because all the professional development, a lot of the professional development I've done in the last few years have been all like athletic population, sort of, your personal trainer stuff, because they try harder. Like it's not just like, here's the research, go and do this. It's like, these are the little tiny nuance things that are going to make a difference because these guys are so fit and so strong. You have to get it perfect. But that is not there in the chronic disease space. And I try to get all those concepts and apply them to our space. I want to show people how to do that. I'm going to try and set up some education. That'll be probably June and beyond. And I also, again, have an awesome team of VPs, and 2 exercise physiologists, that are also going to be presenting on their learning.
Cool.
So some BPS stuff and some low back pain stuff.
So for everyone who doesn't know, BPS is biopsychosocial model.
The biopsychosocial model, which if you work with people with pain, you need to understand it. It's something that I'm new to and I'm trying to wrap my head around. And Dan Ibel, one of our senior EPs, the one leading that, and he's been like teaching us all. So we're gonna package that and then see if other people want to learn what we learn in our space, which is very specific. So stay tuned. It's going to be awesome.
That's awesome. I've had a lot of people, because I've asked for feedback in some of the education stuff I've done in terms of anatomy mastery is just launched, and we have like our 6 months educational mentorship. That one at the moment is like foundations, fundamentals of exercise principles. So not specific to rehab, not specific to chronic disease. In outside of my scope, the thing that people have requested most or said they'd love to learn more about are things like how to manage DIS or chronic diseases or diabetes or, any of those conditions. So if you can provide that, I have confirmation that people want it.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Beautiful. So where can people learn more about you, find you, reach out if they have questions?
I'm on Instagram then. Mitch Vautin AEP. We also have our company Instagram, which is Exercise Healthcare Australia. They're probably the best 2 places to find me social media wise. And I'm pretty good with my DMs. If you send me something, I'll answer back. I like sharing and collaborating and learning with people. That's probably the best place.
Beautiful. And we'll put the links to those in the show notes so that people don't have to figure out how to spell names and things like that.
Good call.
And then the final thing that I like to ask people is something actionable that people can take away. Let's say, someone's potentially starting working on their own, or they have a small team and they're looking to grow. What would you say is one piece of actionable items? That didn't really make sense, but you know what I meant.
No.
What actionable thing that you think that they can do to help to grow their business or grow its physiology?
I think if you maybe it's a little bit actionable, but I think it's the most important thing for me is if you want to be good at anything or successful at anything or grow anything, you have to truly care about it. And be really passionate about the why. So I would, if you're doing something, you want to get better at something, I would go and write down why you want to be better at that thing, why you want to grow your team, why you want to help that person, and try and make it as meaningful as possible. If you do the best fucking job in the world, what is the impact that you could have? And then if you see that on paper, you're just like, oh shit, I actually need to try harder here. I actually need to do more. I actually need to be better. And I'm lucky with the people that we work with and the stories that we hear every single week. Our why is just like, make everything so easy.
What is your why?
Oh, shit. But help more people more. Like these people just don't. No, I think that again, the attitude towards treating people with chronic disease, I don't think it's good enough. And the impact that you can have on our population is incredible. Like, we've had people who came in and couldn't do a timed up and go, couldn't walk 3 meters, now walking 500 meters. People who learned how to stand up from a chair, people who never exercised before, didn't want to come in because we were in a gym, are now gym members going twice a week and they're like 70. Like it's constantly the myriad of things. Everyone could have a team meeting and everyone shared the objective outcomes they made because we test everyone 6 weeks because that is what we should do. And people are sharing all these things all the time. Like our why is, it's just making an impact, helping people that didn't know that exercise could help them. And it can help everyone. So I'm very biased.
That's okay. I think I am too. And I think we're allowed to be when we're creating such impact in the lives of others. So thank you so much for spending your time with me today. And I'm sure that there will be a lot of probably particularly EPs who look up to you who will be keen for this episode. So we may need to get you back on at some point.
Oh, very cool.
All righty. Thanks so much, Mitch. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Dan.
Bye.
Did you find something valuable in this episode? If so, I'd like to ask a tiny favor. If you have 30 seconds now, I'd love you to follow or share the podcast. That way, we can continue to bring you more real, raw, and uncensored stories from industry leaders. We also love hearing from you and what you loved about every episode. The best way to reach out is to DM me personally on Instagram at Swift Coaches Academy. Until next time, and in whatever you do, move swiftly. Before you go, don't forget those 2 anatomy masterclasses are coming up. The first one's on the 15th of June, the anatomy of the shoulder. Second one is the 5th of July, anatomy of the hip. I cannot wait to see you there. Link in the show notes for all of the information for you to register, and I will see you there.